Those of you that have got your notebook all set up, we're ready to go, starting with geometry terms today. Something that's very important in geometry is to make sure you understand what things are called and what things mean in order for this, for you to understand what's going on in this class. Just to let you know, I've got this open to the tab. We're going to do geometry terms today. And so this is going to start on page 6, and this is what this tab is actually for. So it starts on page 6. It's going to end on 7. You won't always know which one it's going to end on until we get to the end of it, but I would like for you to keep up with your tab. After this, I will forget to ever tell you to keep up with your tab. So that means page 6 is going to be 1.0 geometry terms, as well as 7. So I'm going to label it page 6, 1.0 geometry terms. If you do not have a copier, that means you will be writing the geometry terms that we're fixing to work with. And 1.0 geometry terms for page 7 as well. Page 7. Okay, so you'll be writing if you need to. If not, if you have the actual copy of the foldable, we are working with this one first. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole thing. Here's the whole piece here. I'm going to go ahead and fold this in so that it meets in the middle there. And fold this in so it meets the middle. Okay. And then I'm going to cut, not all the way through, but on the dashes. So I've got 6 flaps. Okay. All right. Now, this will go glued in on page 6 when we are finished with it. Before we actually start with the definitions, and by the way, I'm not going to sit here and make a video about me writing the definitions. The actual definitions that you will put in here, you are going to copy from the glossary of your textbook. That's going to be part of your assignment. You're going to do the definitions on your own, as well as a crossword puzzle that is on Google Classroom. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and write all these out for you. That would be the most boring video that ever existed. But before we do that, there are certain things in geometry that are called undefined terms. Even though they have a definition, they are undefined because, other than saying it's a unit in space or something that goes on forever, it's not exactly clear. And you have to start with those to explain others. So the 3 undefined terms are point, line, and plane. And you will eventually be asked about which ones are defined and which ones are undefined. So this one is undefined. That does not mean that a definition does not exist. You need to go find the definition out of the back of your book, and it will say an undefined term. The rest are defined because they use these words. And in case, I'm going to have to zoom in so you can see what I'm actually writing. Defined, defined, undefined, undefined. You sometimes will have to sort them into which category. Okay. All right, we're going to open it up. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the definition for all of these. It would probably be a 30-minute video that would make you want to cry. You're not watching that. Okay, so open up point. We are going to go ahead and talk about an illustration and naming it. Here's a point. We're going to name it P. To name a point, you either just say P or point P. That simple. P or point P. Okay? Go back and define it. Line is an undefined term. I'm going to draw a line. Line is something that goes on forever. I'm going to put 2 points on this line. A and B. Naming a line requires more than 1 point and you put a short line symbol over it. Let me change the line. You can't quite see that. That's better. Or sometimes they'll have little cursive things like L or M or whatever. It'll be cursive. That means that this would be line L. Okay, so sometimes you'll see that. You'll just see a cursive letter just hanging out here. It's not actually a point on the line, but there is a line. Go back and define it. A ray. A ray is a portion of a line with an endpoint. Goes on forever in one direction. A, B. To name a ray, you have a B with a ray on top. If you are in physics with Ms. Klaus, you'll eventually talk about vectors, different than rays. We'll talk about those in here too, actually. Okay. Line segment. A line segment is a portion of a line with two endpoints. A, B. Again, to name a segment, you have AB with a segment over the top of it, AB. An angle. To name an angle, first let's draw one. We've got an acute angle here. A, B, C. There are multiple ways to name an angle. You can name the angle, let's put a little 1 in here, by a number. For instance, this is angle 1 if it had a number in it. By the way, in your notes and in books, you're going to see its angle symbol looks like this. I normally put a little arc in it so that it doesn't look like a less than symbol, but sometimes you'll see it like this and sometimes you'll see it without that arc symbol, okay? So this could be angle 1, or it could be angle B. If it's just one letter, it has to be the vertex of the angle, okay? Or it could be labeled with 3 letters, A, B, C. Notice the vertex is in the center, or C, B, A. Again, the vertex is in the center. If it's not, then you cannot label it that way. It has to be with the vertex in the center. If you told me, oh, this is angle ACB, I would have no idea what you're talking about because there's not an angle there. Let me rewrite over this because my pen's running out. Okay. Angle CBA, or ABC, or B, or 1. All right, now let's talk about plane. A plane is just a flat surface, which is hard to draw. Okay, like a piece of paper is a plane, except for a plane goes on forever. To name a plane, you have to have 4 points on the plane, 4 points that are non-collinear, and we're going to talk about what that means, but it means they're not all 4 in a line, okay? Also, it might have a cursive letter sticking out. So this is plane WXYZ, or plane P. So that's how you name a plane, okay? Go ahead, take this, glue this on page 6 after you define the terms. So set this aside, define the terms from your book. You're going to need to know them. They're going to be on tests and things. You need to have them memorized. Make flashcards if you need to, but I'm not going to sit here and define them for you. If for some reason you can't find one of them, let me know, but you're still going to have to find them somewhere. I believe the word angle is not actually in the glossary. Maybe look in the index. If it's not, let me know. I'll figure that out. Okay. So we're going to glue this on page 6. You're going to define the terms. It's easier to define them before you glue it in because this is hanging off out of your notebook. Okay. Page 7 is where we're putting the other foldable that I gave you. So we're going to go ahead and take that one and work on it as well. And those other terms, some I just mentioned, like collinear. So it looks like this. I'm going to flip it like this. I'm going to fold it into the center. Before I can fold it in the center, I probably need to make a center. So let's make it center. Okay. So I've got 4 new words here: collinear, non-collinear, coplanar, non-coplanar. And before I can start this, I actually am going to write the definition to these down because I need it to do the part in the middle here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my book with my glossary to define those, and then we'll work on the examples. These are pretty short definitions is why I'll just grab those and we'll work on them together. Okay, so definition of collinear. Something that is collinear, points are collinear if they lie on the same plane. So on the same line. Points that lie on the same line. I really need to quit using the blue. Put it somewhere else because it's just not working. Okay. An example of that. Got a line here. Well, that one doesn't work either. Okay, I've got a line here. And it's got points M, N, and O. M, N, and O. These 3 points are, collinear because they lie on the same line. Okay. Now, therefore, we have non-collinear. What do you think that would mean? Points that do not lie on the same line. By the way, making these videos makes me feel like maybe Dora the Explorer. What do you think about this? And then I wait. So points that do not lie on the same line. Example, got a line, we've got M, I got N, and O is just up here by itself. Okay? By the way, any 2 points are collinear, always, because you can draw a line through any 2 points, so they are collinear. Let's go ahead and answer these 2 questions since they are about collinear and non-collinear. Then we'll talk about coplanar. Before we do that, we're going to write down what I just said. Any 2 points are collinear. So we're going to skip to number 2. I'm going to number these so you know what I'm talking about. If you need to write them, take a minute and write them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 2. Are F and Y collinear? Well, we just talked about that. That's 2 points. Yes. Because any 2 points are collinear. So absolutely. We're done with that one. Number 4. Are points F, R, and B collinear? Look, I said yes when it should have been collinear. Sorry that I shook the camera there. Collinear. Please fix that. That's my biggest thing is I don't read the directions. You should read them, but so should I. Number 4. Are points F, R, and B collinear? So think about that for a minute and you answer that. F, R, B. They are collinear. They lie on the same line. So yes, they are collinear. Okay, we'll come back to 1 and 3 after we define planar, coplanar, and non-coplanar. Given what collinear meant, coplanar and non-coplanar pretty much mean the same thing. They are points that lie on the same plane. For example, here's a plane, W, X, Y, Z. Okay. Non-coplanar are points that do not lie on the same plane. For example, W, X, and let's say Z is floating up here in space. It's way above the plane. It's a flat surface and it's above it. Not on the same plane, okay? Kind of like up here in this picture, Y and A are not in the same plane. Something you need to know. Any 3 points are coplanar, always. Even if nothing has been drawn between them, you could draw something between them. Coplanar. I have to make sure I spelled coplanar right. Yes, okay. So let's do 1 and 3. Any 3 points are coplanar. Are points F, A, and Y coplanar or non-coplanar? I don't even have to look at this because there are 1, 2, 3 points. So they are coplanar. Because any 3 points are coplanar. Okay. Example 3. Are points F, R, and B, oh, I forgot to add a piece here. Any 3 non-collinear points are coplanar. Please fix that. Let's go back and check number 1. F, A, and Y are non-collinear, so we're good. So are points F, R, and B coplanar or non-coplanar? They are non-coplanar. Why? Because points F, R, and B are collinear. That's why. Okay. We're going to glue this in on page 7. Those are your major terms that you have to know for the first part of geometry. Of course, we will talk about others. We will have to glue this in sideways. That's okay. So I'm going to glue this in on page 7 here. You wrote on 7 if you didn't have a printer or have a copy of this. Tonight or right now for homework, you need to, if you haven't finished the definitions, go do those. And then you need to work on the crossword puzzle. I believe you have to make an account to start the crossword puzzle, but do that crossword puzzle. Tomorrow we're going to use a compass and protractor, so I hope you have one by tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow.